Hello, my name is Marina Bashidai.
And I'm Priya Silverstein.
We are here to present our study on children's transmission of learned actions, which was conducted at Lancaster University Baby Lab.
Children are sensitive to both social and non-social aspects of the learning environment.
Among social cues, pedagogical communication has been shown to not only play a role in children's learning, but also in their own active transmission of knowledge.
We directly contrasted pedagogical demonstration with complexity of novel actions in a knowledge transmission paradigm with 2-year-old children. Vredenberg, Kushner and Casasola in 2015 showed that 2-year-olds are more likely to demonstrate an action to a naive adult after learning it in a pedagogical than in a non-pedagogical context. This finding was interpreted as evidence that pedagogically transmitted information has a special status as culturally relevant. Here we test the limits of this claim by setting it in contrast with an explanation in which the relevance of information is the outcome of multiple interacting social and non-social properties. To test these competing hypotheses, we varied both pedagogical cues and action complexity in an information transmission paradigm with 2-year-old children.
We used toys that had many possible actions, but children were explicitly taught 2 on each object. In experiment 1, the child was taught one simple action, such as pressing a button on the outside of the toy, and one complex action, such as using a tool to press the button inside the toy. Each child participated in 2 trials, so there were 2 toys.
The complex action was always demonstrated pedagogically, i.e. the experimenter used direct eye contact with the child-directed speech, and intentionally communicated that they were teaching something. This is what the pedagogical demonstration looked like.
Look at this! This is how you do it. Can you do it?
The simple action was always demonstrated non-pedagogically, i.e. the experimenter did not use direct eye contact with the child, spoke in an adult-directed way, and stumbled across the action accidentally but went on to demonstrate it. This is what the non-pedagogical demonstration looked like.
What's this? Oh, that's how you do it.
So, when the child later had the opportunity to teach the actions to a naive experimenter, they had a choice of what to preferentially transmit, i.e. which to show to the experimenter first. This choice was between an action that was more complex but had been taught to them in a pedagogical way, or a simple action that was demonstrated non-pedagogically. Whether or not this choice was explicit for the child or not is beyond the scope of our paper. So, after the child had observed both actions being demonstrated, a naive experimenter came into the room and asked how to play with the toys.
Hello. Oh wow, you have a new toy here. That's an interesting toy. I've never seen that before. Can you show me how to play with it?
We then recorded which actions the child demonstrated to the experimenter. Most children showed both actions, so we measured the first action they transmitted and how many times they demonstrated each type of action.
Yes.
So here, the child demonstrated the simple action first, several times, and then went on to demonstrate the complex action. In experiment 1, children preferentially transmitted simple, non-pedagogically demonstrated actions over pedagogically demonstrated more complex actions.
However, with our design, we could not tell whether our results showed that the properties of the simple action overrode the effect of pedagogical demonstration, or instead whether we might find that in our setup, pedagogical teaching does not lead to preferential transmission in the first place. To this end, we decided to conduct a replication of the study by Vredenberg and colleagues. We used the same procedure as in experiment 1, except that action complexity was now matched for both pedagogically and non-pedagogically demonstrated actions in each trial.
In experiment 2, when both actions were matched for complexity, we found no evidence of preferential transmission of pedagogically demonstrated actions.
In the paper, we discuss possible reasons for the discrepancy between our results and the previous literature showing an effect of pedagogical cues on cultural transmission, and conclude that our results are compatible with the view that pedagogical and other cues interact, but incompatible with the theory of a privileged role for pedagogical cues.
We'd like to thank all the families that took part in this research, the research assistant who tested and coded for this project, our funders, and you for listening.